I watched a woman from Nigeria who had been rescued from the Mediterranean around Lampedusa saying, I will not go back to Africa. Even if I die in the Mediterranean, I'll try again and again. What is it that can make a human being say that I do not want to go back to my home? Because the natural instinct of a human being should be that you want to go home.
What's up, world? It's your boy AJ the Black World Traveler, and today my video is about why Africans don't move back to Africa. If you like the channel, you haven't been able to subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification button so you can be notified when I have other videos. So I'm doing this video because the last video I did was about a sister was talking about, basically being a woman in Africa, like, Black American woman moving over and becoming, I guess, living there, to relocate. Well, I always ask this question because I got a lot of African friends, and a lot of my African friends never talked about moving back to Africa. Most of my African friends that I know that live here, that came to America as kids, they came here during times of war, and they escaped, times of war and, probably being killed in the war, or, the boys getting turned to, kid soldiers. And so a lot of the African families moved here as refugees, and they settled their lives here and they started over. And I'm always going to question that. If the Africans are not trying to move back to Africa, why are we so eager to move there? And we should ask them why they don't move back. A lot of my friends don't want to move back. None of my African friends never talk about moving back to Africa. They talk about visiting, but never moving back. Well, I'm going to show you some footage. This is happening every day. I did a video before on this. Watch this clip real quick. And this is what's happening right now in Africa that you don't know about. Check this out.
At this point, the rescue boat we're on is already full. This is the deck of the Sea-Watch 2, a German charity rescue boat. The capacity of this ship is 150 people. We are currently carrying about 400 souls, mainly from West Africa, that we picked up today. And if you follow me onto the bridge of the ship, you'll get a sense of the scale of this humanitarian crisis. Look at the radar. We've counted about 15 or 16 of those yellow dots. Every one represents a vessel. Some are migrant boats, some are charity boats, some belong to smugglers. And if you come out this direction, you'll get more of a scale. Excuse me, sir. There's people everywhere on the boat. Excuse me. If you look into the distance there, that large blue boat is what they call a double-decker. That's carrying approximately 700 people on 2 different levels.
So close to the border of Europe, people are dying. We just came to the last minute. We knew there was boats and no one comes to the rescue for them. We volunteers, we just a random boxman.
The thing about this crisis, the closer you get to it, the harder it is to make sense of why it's happening. Faith from Nigeria tried to with a hymn. The stories that we've been hearing from the people getting on these boats is stories of savagery in Libya, stories of torture in Libya. People talk about modern day slavery. This feels medieval.
We can shoot people like that. People dying every day. Yeah, Libya is not good.
God save our life because we don't have hope.
If you're there in the car inside, they see you, they go shoot you. Every time they shoot our blacks. That's why you go enter this boat.
20-year-old Divine from Nigeria arrived in Libya last year. And in the darkness, a matter-of-fact account of what it's like to be a slave in 2017.
If you come out like we black, they might kidnap you, they will sell you, you look for money and pay yourself, those kind of stuff.
I see. And is that what happened to you?
Yes.
Were you bought and sold?
Yes, I was sold to somebody.
Now, what's crazy, you hear about black people talking about the slave trade, how, you know, black people were captured and put on slave ships. This video is so disturbing because imagine Africans are volunteering to get on boats and ships to get out of there to go to a better place. So hundreds of years ago, you hear about Africans getting captured and then traded in slavery. But now you have Africans volunteering to get on boats and rafts or whatever to get out of Africa to go to Europe to get a better life. You know it has to be bad. And I'm not trying to discourage nobody, but that's a big statement. Just to see that video is so disturbing because you think about that. That's what the slave trade was supposed to be about, right? So yeah, these are the things that happen in Africa. This is a side of Africa that a lot of us don't see because most black Americans, not most, but some black Americans, they basically get DNA testing. They say, oh, well, my DNA say I'm Nigerian or whatever. I'm from this tribe. Science, you know, I don't trust the DNA. I only trust DNA on like basically doing DNA with a child and the father or the mother because you will be able to detect. You can actually get your DNA and know that works. But to be able to take your saliva and trace it to a tribe in Africa or a country in Africa is impossible. You cannot do that. You can trace your bloodline. If you were to trace your roots back to Africa, you would have to have a sample of every single relative in your family tree to trace it. So what these companies are doing, they're taking sequences from Africa and they're trying to match them to see if they're similar. But that's not accurate at all. So you taking a DNA test and them telling you that you're Nigerian is crazy because that doesn't mean that you're Nigerian. Like, and the reason why I won't call myself an African American and I call myself a Black American or indigenous because a lot of blacks came here thousands of years ago. Black people have been in the Americas for a long time. We were the first people on the earth. So before the Pangea and before all the land split, I know some people don't believe this, but some people think that the Pangea happened before man, but man's been here for a long time. So before the Pangea, if you don't know about it, the Pangea is when all the land was together, there were no continents. When the land broke, they became continents. And that's why you have continents now. But it always had me, I've always been interested in that because all of my African friends that I talk to, they said they'll never go back to Africa to live. Like, they don't want to go back. I mean, that's their home. And I know there was a thing about Akon saying, oh yeah, all blacks should go back to Africa, should go there. Well, we can't go back, we ain't never been there. Even if our ancestors came from there, we don't know where to go. See, he's African, he can go back. He's from Senegal, he has family back in Senegal. He has land, so he knows where to go because that's where he's from. Like, we're from America. We've been in America for a long time. And we've been here so long, a lot of us don't know where our ancestors were. If our ancestors did come from Africa, because all black people did not come from Africa. Because Africa, you got to realize when the land split, that's when all the places got named. North, South, and Central America always had dark-skinned people here. Even when you go into Panama or Nicaragua or any parts of the South and Central America and the Caribbean, even the indigenous people are brown skin or dark skin. Some have straight hair, some have brown skin, some have dark skin like mine with crosshair. But we've been here for a long, long time. And there's a lot of things about even with the whole thing about the slave trade. The slave trade is not accurate. Saying people came over the Atlantic and, that long ago, me being an ex-sailor and me being someone who lived on a ship and traveled over the seas, knowing it's impossible to go through that kind of water and the kind of ships they had, with no running water, you can wash yourself, no kind of food, no kind of refrigeration to store food. So there was no way that anybody could survive going over the Atlantic in those days because there's no land between. It's like 1,400 miles from Africa to South America, like in Brazil. So, and if you cut those pieces together, if you took the land of Africa and took South America and they came together, they damn near joined together. So that's like a history lesson for his land. But most Africans, I haven't met any Africans that's moving back to Africa. I haven't met one. And if they do go back to Africa, they usually go there to have business. I mean, some Africans have become very successful in the Western world, and they go back and open businesses. The thing about Africa, if Africa took better care of their citizens, you wouldn't have this stuff going on like you just saw. You wouldn't have people risking their lives to come across. I mean, talking about daily. They're risking their lives to go across the Sahara Desert to the Mediterranean Sea so they can get to Europe, so they can get a better life, or they get enough money where they can fly to Mexico and then come through the border that way. But Africans are leaving in droves, coming over here. You got Black Americans that's leaving from here, going over there. The thing about it, a lot of Black Americans that do move to Africa, a lot of them come back because they're not used to that. And then a lot of them got scammed. You know, a lot of Black people that came here got scammed. Africa, I mean, I haven't been to Africa yet. And I want to go, you know, I just don't know where to go. I mean, I was going to go last year. I just hear so many bad things, and I'm kind of got turned off of going sometimes because, you know, I'm just seeing so many incidents where Black people are going over there and they're having problems. They're getting scammed on things. So, you know, and then you can see on top of that, my African friends, they're not looking at going back themselves. And they're African. So if my African friends ain't trying to move back to Africa, you know, I don't know about me moving back. I mean, me going there. Unless to go, I can't go back. I've never been. So I can't go back to Africa. And you do have some people who are Afrocentric that live in the United States. A lot of them, you know, like for instance, like Umar Johnson saying, you know, you have the birthright in Africa. No, we don't. We don't have no connection with Africa anymore. We don't know how to be African. And to me, it's a disrespect to call myself an African because I don't know how to be African. You know, Africa's a whole continent. You got 54 countries. So no matter what part of Africa that you think you're from, if you don't understand the language, you don't understand the cultures, you don't understand how to live on the land. Like when you're from Africa, you got to learn how to live off the land. A lot of my African friends, they've been here since little kids. They don't even know how to live in Africa no more. They've been here so long. And none of them ever talk about moving back and going back to Africa. They might buy a house, they might buy land there, but they're not trying to move back forever. And if they do, they're going to do it later on. But, you know, the resources that Africa has, there's no way in the world that a country should be poor. There's no reason that people should be escaping out of there. So the wealthy people stay wealthy and they don't really give a lot to the poor people. Like Africa could be a superpower because Africa has all the resources, all the natural grains. They have diamonds. They have all the precious stones. They have oil. They have so many resources that Africa has. I mean, Nigeria has one of the biggest reserves in Nigeria, and there's shacks outside of Nigeria. Africa shouldn't be like that. People say Africa's not poor. No, the people are poor, not the actual country itself. The country is very rich, and they let all these Europeans and these Asians come in and buy all the resources. You know, they come there and buy the diamonds, and the people who owns the diamonds, who owns all the minerals and the oil, they take that money, they pocket that money. The citizens don't even reap anything from it. So you want me to go to a country where they're escaping by the numbers, and where a lot of African people who came here left because of civil war? You think I want to go somewhere like that and start my life over? I mean, if you feel comfortable over there, you can. But understand it can happen to you too. If you're an American or a Canadian or whatever, like see the difference between the Canadians and a lot of the Europeans, a lot of them who go to Africa, they are African. A lot of them have African roots already. They're the first generation or second generation in Europe. So they have a place to go. When you Black American, you don't have no place to go. We've been in America way too long. You know, we don't have no African traditions anymore. We don't even raise our kids the same way as Africans. Like, we don't do nothing. Our food's not like African food. There's a lot of things that we don't do. I mean, we're still all Black. But, you know, I lived in Australia too. And when I lived in Australia, you know, there's a lot of people that are Black that are not from Africa, that are not African. Like, for instance, the Papua New Guinea people are not from Africa. The Torres Strait Islanders, some had Africans, some didn't. Fijians, not African, they're all Asian. They're all Asian Black people. Filipinos, the Negritos, I met them. They are Asian. You know, some parts of Thailand, you know, they have different Black tribes. And these people are Asian black people. They're not African. See, you gotta understand this too. East Africa is right across from Asia. East Africa is across from Asia and the Middle East Asia. So in that region, you in that region in Southeast Asia, it's a hotter place, so the people are darker, like in India and Pakistan, those places, Bangladesh, because they're darker skinned people and they're on the darker coast. When you go up to the Far East, to the Middle East, up to like Saudi Arabia, they're more of a fair skin. They're still brown, but they're a lighter brown. And they're right across from, Ethiopia is right across from, I think, not Saudi Arabia. Well, Egypt's across from Saudi Arabia, right across the water through the Mediterranean Sea. You got Africa, and you got the Middle East right there. So they're right across from each other. But a lot of Africans aren't trying to move back to Africa because they know something they must know something. If they're not moving back, then I'm not moving there. We complain about America, oh, America has these problems. Yeah, we know every country has their problems, but I'm not going to give up America to move to a place where I have to, I can get my land taken anytime. There's no deeds. If they want to take your land in Africa, they can take your land. Like, it's not like here, where you buy your land, you own your land. You might not own the land itself, but as long as you pay your note and your taxes on your land, it's yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go to some islands, you can own your own land and buy it cash. But, in America, even here, you don't own your land all right. You got to pay your property taxes or they can take your land from you. But I'd rather take my chances right here in the U.S. than to go anywhere. I lived in Asia for 2 years. I've been to the Philippines. I've been to Thailand. A lot of those countries are beautiful. But all those countries underpay the citizens. They don't have to be third world countries, especially Africa. As big as that continent is, and all the resources they have there, and natural minerals, there's no way in the world that Africa should be poor. But if you like the content, please like, share, subscribe if you like to. And you can also hit the notification button to get some more of my videos. This is your boy, AJ the Black World Traveler. I am out.